dissertation, which I think I spoke to you about a few days before I did it.
Possibly.
And, I spent a lot of time kind of educating people and sitting down face to face with people to really get their buy-in. And I think what really kind of started to change people's minds was we did Burberry, because I made a list of brands I wanted to work with. And, when I first started, I wasn't really getting very far with them. And no, it wasn't Burberry, actually. It was Dolce & Gabbana that we did. The very first kind of brand partnership we did from a social perspective was a Justin Bieber Dolce & Gabbana party that was thrown in Milan, and the business agreed to let me fly over and cover it. So I went over there, I covered it I think it was on Twitter, because Twitter was the one at the time, and then came back, did a big report on it. And then from there, I think the real turning point for me, I think, was when we did a collaboration with Burberry on the Be a Buyer campaign. So what that was I can't remember what year it was, but they were showing at London Fashion Week the women's wear autumn winter collection. So the show had happened, and then we were given all of the images from the women's wear collection to put on Facebook, and then our followers and our fans had to vote for their favorite look, and the look that got the most votes was then bought in by the buyers. That got a lot of press. It was picked up, I think, by the Huffington Post. It was picked up by quite a lot of publications, online digital publications, and that's when people started to really notice. And I think as well, people really started to comment on the fact that we engaged with people. I would do things like, because the thing, Harrods is one of the pillars of the brand pillars of Harrods is service. They're very, very high on their service. Excellence in everything, especially customer service. So I tried to introduce that into the social media. So we would do things like every morning we would say, "Good morning. We look forward to welcoming you to Harrods today. Do tweet us." Because when you actually physically go to the store, you have the green men at the door greeting you. You have people greeting you when you're in the store. So I was trying to take some of those elements of the business and introduce them into the social media. Obviously, it's a bit difficult to do that because obviously it's digitally, not physically. But I think that was one of the things, and we used it. I used it in the way that it was meant to be used, being social. So if somebody tweeted saying they were coming to the store, I would reply saying, "Hi, Brad, that's great news. Do share your pictures with us. We look forward to welcoming you to our Harrods home." I was basically just using the channels in the way that they were supposed to be used. And that as well got picked up by quite a lot of people. And people started to write about it. We get feedback saying, "Oh, Harrods are always engaging. They always get back to you." And I think that was one of the things. It was like, for me, that I wanted to establish those foundations. And for me, the foundations were actually using the channels in the way that they were meant to be used, and then layering sales messages, if you like, because that's what they are on top of that. Instead of just trying to hit people all the time with "come in and buy this product" or "go online and buy this," it's a case of actually use the channels in the way they're meant to be used in order to get your message across. And that's where, and then as that went on, more and more people in the business started to notice it. And then when we set the Instagram up, it grew at an incredibly fast pace. And I think when it hit 100,000 followers, that's when people were like, "Okay,
yeah, it's got some legs now.
This is something now." But that took time. And I think that's one thing that I find quite frustrating now. It's very different now. Fast forward 8, 9, 10 years, you can buy followers now. They have bots out there. Whereas when I did this and when you started doing it, it was all organic.
Yeah,
everything
grind,
we did. Yeah, there was no, we didn't have much in the way of budget. Everything I did, you really had to think about what you were doing. You really had to be creative. You really had to test and try different things, because there were no bots. I mean, and even if they had been, I would never have used them. And I think that's one of the things I'm really proud of with what I did at Harrods. Everything was grown organically. There was no inflation of numbers. There was nothing going on behind the scenes. It was purely all organically driven. I mean, obviously you do social advertising, but that didn't come till much later on, later on down the line. And I think for me, that's one of the things I'm really proud of, is it was all done the organic way. It was all done the good old fashioned way. Whereas now it's very, very different.
Yeah.
People have bots for engaging. Some people are not even managing their own accounts, which again, I mean, I don't really have a problem with that. But I think what I'm trying to say is that when I started doing this, and when you started doing it, we were basically learning as we were going along.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, I
every day
remember.
we would go in and I would think, right, okay, what am I going to, I would literally, when I first started, and you know, it sounds ridiculous, but when I first started doing it, I would literally go in every morning. I'd be in before 8 o'clock every morning. I'd walk the shop floor for a good hour or two, taking pictures, taking down notes, making mental notes of things that would be interesting for social media, and just doing it reactively. Everything in the early days was done reactively, and then as time went on, it became more planned, it became more thought out. But in those early days, when we were all kind of at the same level, we didn't really fully understand how social media worked. We were all at the same stage. So it was just a case of every single day trying different things to see what worked and what didn't. But yeah, it took, I would say, probably a good 2 years to get buy-in from everyone. But once everybody got on board with it, it was incredible, because then we got so much support from the business. The buyers would get the brands to send things early in for us so we could photograph them, and that's the thing. None of that would have been possible without that buy-in, without that kind of period of education and meeting with people and building those relationships. Because as much as I spearheaded it and I was responsible for leading that, I could not have done that on my own. It would have been impossible.
Yeah, you bring it all together, but the team, it's a team effort at the end of the day.
Definitely.
You know what's interesting though, when you said before about the way you try to take the store experience and the personal experience onto a digital space. Simple, really, really simple things like saying good morning to your followers, saying I always caught it when you were saying the store's closing now and we hope you've had a really nice day and we're going to welcome you back soon, and all these kinds of things that at the time I thought were really, really simple, but really, really clever. Like, I still don't see many brands that say good morning every morning. And
Yeah, and it's
stuff
just
like that.
basic things. Because if you think about it, like, social media is meant to be all about connecting with people. It's meant to be about forming an emotional connection with people. And what, it's about, for me, it's about human behavior. What do people respond positively to? People like, and maybe it's because I'm a northerner. You go out in the morning, you say good morning to people, you say hi, you might have a chat with somebody on the train, you say to someone, have a nice day or whatever. And I think those are things, whether you're doing it physically or digitally, those are things that people react to positively. Who's going to object to you saying good morning to them and wishing them a nice day? Who's going to object to you saying, we're signing off for the evening, enjoy your evening and join us again tomorrow? I think for me, those things are really important. And I think, like you said, I think you're absolutely right. Even now, that kind of stuff, I don't really see that on social media. Everybody's just hell bent on pushing out their product and having something to say. And it's like, you know what? Sometimes the simplest tactics are the most effective. And of all the things I did in my time there, those are the things that people always commented on. It wasn't if we'd gone to Paris to photograph something at the Eiffel Tower. I'll never forget, there was one guy who said to me, whenever Harrods signs off on their tweets, I know it's time for me to go and have my dinner, for me to go and have my tea. To me, it's things like that. It's like, as soon as he saw that tweet, he always went and made his dinner because he knew it was time for dinner. And it's things like that for me. And to me, that's how you build advocacy. That's how you build a love of your brand. At the end of the day, Harrods are selling products, similar products as Selfridges, Harvey Nichols, Liberty. That doesn't really differentiate you. What differentiates you is how you speak to your audience, how you connect with them, how you engage with them. That's where the differences come in. If it's just about product, that's no, for example, if we're all selling the same brand or the same dress from, say, Self Portrait, to me, that's not as big a thing as if somebody's coming to the store and they're bringing their grandmother for afternoon tea and they happen to mention it, which is what happened to us. A lady brought her grandmother in for afternoon tea for her birthday, and she tweeted about it. And I thought, okay, cool, we should do something nice for them. So I rang the restaurant manager, said, look, this lady's just sent this tweet. I'll send you a screenshot of it. Can you get the green men to come up and, say happy birthday, give them a glass of champagne and some cake, and they did that, and they were shocked. They were like, how did you know? I said, well, we saw it on Twitter. Our social media team let us know, so we thought we'd come and wish you happy birthday. To me, that's social media.
Yeah,
it
goes
you
a long
can do
way.
all the fancy videos, all the funny memes, all the gifs you want, but to me, that is the foundations of what social media is. And I think a lot of companies don't, like, you're right, a lot of brands don't do that. They just go straight in for, like, this is our product, this is our message, sell, 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 sell. Whereas, you know, if you think about it, the more intelligent way to do it is to try to connect with people emotionally, and then layer your kind of sales messages, if you like, on top of that.
Yeah, and I think there's an element as well of you when you're in that space and you say good morning and good afternoon and we're signing off and all that kind of stuff. In a digital space, it is automatically assumed that it's 24/7. That if a business can tweet, a business can do every other aspect of their business. So you can ship an order, you can track an order, you can do this, you can do that, and do the other. I know Harrods is slightly different in the way it's constructed and all these kind of things, but in a digital space, everyone assumes that you're 24/7, all go, all on. If you in the morning say good morning, then you're in for the day. So anything that comes your way, you will deal with in a timely manner.
Yeah, of course.
If you say good night, we're signing off, this is the end of the day, we welcome you back tomorrow, we can't wait to see you, and all these kinds of like really nice, friendly, engaging things, expectations of people drop, like on a subconscious level, I think, to say, well, if there's any issues or problems or questions, when they sign on in the morning, that's when they're ready to answer it. So you're kind of managing your own processes at the same time.
Exactly, and that was part of the reason we did it as well. It was like, people know when we're online and when we're offline, because the reality is we couldn't be on there 24/7. It just wasn't possible. You know, we were, when I first had it was just me, and even as time went on, the team wasn't massive, so there was no way we could be on there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that was another, and you know, as much as it's about connecting with people and, you know, and trying to extend the idea of the physical service onto our social media platforms, it was also a way of managing the audience's expectations. So at least if they tweet about something at, say, 10 o'clock at night, if they go onto our Twitter feed and see that we're signing off for the evening, join us again tomorrow, we look forward to reading your tweets, they'll know, okay, well, they're not physically there, so they'll come back to me tomorrow. So that was another reason, you know, because I think that's the thing as well. It's not just about, you know, developing emotional connections with people. It's about being strategic. And at the end of the day, Harrods is a business, and we only work X amount of hours during the day, and we need to be able to manage the customer's expectation. So that was the other side of it as well. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, you're managing your audience's expectations. They know when you're available, and they know when you're not available.
Yeah, no, I like I said before, it's the simplest thing, but one of the most effective things that you do, and it's at a subconscious level where people understand what you're doing. You're managing expectations, you're managing your own workflow to a point, because you know that if queries come in, like I've seen loads of brands, they post messages of an evening and tweets and Instagram posts and all this kind of stuff, and the first 3 or 4 comments on them are, why can you post on Instagram but you can't answer an email, or you can't answer your phone, and all this kind of thing. It's understanding that process, and like I mentioned before, everyone just assumes digital is 24/7, and there's always someone on the end of a laptop or the end of a computer that'll just fix it for you, where that's not always the case in
no,
businesses.
Definitely not.
So then, to switch it round then, from you said before, you got the buy-in from the company after a little while, and people started engaging a little bit more and understanding the reasons why you were doing what you were doing, and customers got the buy-in from the green men going over with the champagne and the cake and all these kinds of things. So you're Harrods social manager, you manage all the channels and do all this kind of stuff. How many people have said to you before, social is just sitting on Facebook all day, or social is just sitting on Instagram all day? And you know, and I know completely that is not the case. Being a social manager is so much more involved, so much more in depth. How do you deal with those misconceptions when people come in, especially in a business that maybe like Harrods, that don't appreciate the scope of what social is capable of?
I think one of the ways I always did it, and I still do, is because I used to get this all the time. Not so much now, but you know, people, even members of my own family, you know, even my mum, who doesn't, to be fair, does not really get social, does not really get digital, but she'd be like, but you know, Lisa, when are you going to get a proper job? You can't just sit on Facebook all day. I'm like, if my job was just to sit on Facebook all day, I would be happy as Larry.
Yeah.
But it's like I said to you before, you know, I spent a long time building relationships, educating people internally and externally as to the value and the benefits of social media. You know, it's not just about, oh, I'm going to take, it's not just, oh, I'll take a picture of that, or I'll do a boomerang. You know, that is the end result of a very, very lengthy process. And what I always used to do, like I'll forget this